Obfuscation, Section 1, in which the fighter, walking through a sun shower in Singapore, seeks shelter by heading into Raffles Bar. By chance he finds his old friend, the failure, there. They discuss a recently published research paper on data obfuscation and decide to travel to Shenzhen in order to create a biohack device that can implement the theoretical results of this paper into the physical body. So what the raindrops are halogen, or magnesium in glow light, and the fighter, of course, only one without an umbrella, and yet what matter the straw hat, the white linen shirt, drenched 1 minute now steaming, not quite dry but surely near enough to snap the barbs times arrow's head. Past the cafe, the cinematic air still filled with sun-drop cylinders, fizzling as they hit feet-fallen avenue that the fighter, bless him, past his prime, soft gutted, shoulders hunched, yes, but broad enough to still do what sky imbues him with, an ever-present warning signal posture ready to return the rocket flare. Past the cafe on Fat Boy's burgers, say burger red, the colour of fascination. Of course, could throw these wet clothes into the bin at shops, the fighter buy a new shirt, robot cat, future-proof of the sudden downpour, for later regaling to who? One who peels brown autumn shells from flowers, puts in ears. The rain on the tiles near the outdoor bar in Raffles makes the tiles look wet, like really wet, like each tile were a brown expressionist painting of great wetness, with acrylic emulsion polymers nowhere near dry. And say, who knows how the fighter got here from the street, from Bend of Bay, through Horticulture Archway? Possibly, but who can say, except perhaps the one he spots sitting there in the rain, my old friend, of all places, the synchronicity of it, the failure. Absorbed in the televisual news, he's leaning on the wet bar with raindrops mingling in nestled sea of bourbon. Lad, it is not that I cannot process it all, say he turns to the fighter, but rather it is not enough. No, I'm not after censor, nor long-form perspectivism or peace, but something I can... Okay, listen to this. Howe and Nissenbaum, 2009, regarding obfuscation. Even just the word fills me with, hold on, my lips are dry like tiles that never knew the rain. A mind that can absorb so much and yet use so little. The fighter met the failure in his neatly cubed backyard in Wee War. This is going back, say, a decade plus, say double back and sponsor the past wise, say the fighter as story being told by the failure, every narrative a diary of youth being told to the ever-youth in our head. I went a-walking the other day and heard a new voice behind my eyes, perhaps the third evolution of tenor and gradient, of bend and volley, that my head words have resounded since pre-verbal longing. Hold up, the failure smacks the bar, thus teaching glisten to pike, to pirouette. Oh, you think so much and wander so little, my fighter. Now punch your way towards train station. Adelstrop. No, I mean the paddle pop at the mass rapid transit stand, which had blockchain to Shenzhen for biohack components. I foresee a sub-skin flat breadboard to prototype a filter that pollutes all incoming news of the world. Yes, lad, views are the pearled nigh listening. Section 2, in which recent months in the life of the fighter are recounted, with regards to his loss in a boxing match on the beach, how he has become a target for youths wanting to make a name for themselves, and how he has turned to space tourism and living with the Spanish dub music collective in the shadow of his loss, avoiding the life he once lived. It is possible he should have allowed the blood poisoning from his tooth to swallow him after the knock taken in the beachside ring back 6 months that afternoon when the sandscape melted in waves of grainy lava phasing. See Les Darcy at Balmoral, see how red and gold sunset by Whistler was a mirror unto the slides of diagnostic hemoglobin observed in the Seaside Maternity Hospital. See the young cad in Woolworths sizing up the fighter and being egged on by mates, and wham, he receives the fighter in his toffee-toned raincoat with enough full physical force to turn the contender's muscle tendons into yeasts, crushed ye entropically into the bakery shelves, thy mass, now the bread of the universe, that the failure would later say must be broken off and shared unto itself, like trees too far gone with sending signals of biological risk to one another, so now all dialogue is via transplanted limbs. Beyond the sealed lid of the world, the fighter took his 4th space tourist jaunt last week, so the next trip is half price. As Presley sang in Clambake, look for the brightest lights in town to see the abyss embrace its gown. As Bernard sang on occasion of the first heart transplant, the original has gone missing, but I've a spare. When the fighter was at age young people are when they start manipulating subterranean engines, jaunt air in shafts of cold resonance, was acutely aware, whilst toting a wooden staff, that up there, beyond the mostly sealed lid, in waiting, dressed in magnesium white, a weapon with his name on it, aimed at him always. Call it fate, call it word, he knows they get one shot at him, and he one back at them. From A to B, parabola to C, shoot and see, fill your gold shoes with funerals and let it be. Remind me whom history will erase, time after time with multipass overwrites. According to the failure, the fighter is, quote, all that, he is unbloody touchable. But if this is the case, then why the loss in the ring on the beach the other arvo? Not within mirror view for him this year, living on Earth's seaside with Agua Viva, in their recording studio van, producing dub dancehall variations with Casio tone and echo stomp box, transmitted arterial through city veins by a dish on the roof. He stumbled up to them one heatstroke afternoon, beachscape dripping against pedestrian skyline, the fighter singing in this lowing, guttural mumble vibe that just seemed to work. We found the bass, thus spake the orphan bandmates. But why you here? Go home, be a family man. The fighter, more like the voliverant, eh? We hear your wife is calientes. We saw a print that Baudelaire implored his friend to buy from Goya's son, Duchess of Alba, supersized purple bow on waist, necklace, big copper bells seated immensely in her ketchup hair, star-salted peregrine eyes, and you were there too, shaggy whiskers, damaged teeth sunk in parish beach balls. Section 3, in which the fighter and the failure catch the bullet train from Singapore to Shenzhen in order to meet Sai, a biohacker with a penchant for pretty and eccentric gadgets. They discuss their intention to create an obfuscation device that would overclock the amount of incoming news to the brain in order to scramble any attempt to give order to it, but Sai wonders if they might not be better considering the notion of sideways music. Sleeping on the Kunming rail, passing unseen the lychee and mangrove plantations beneath iron pillars the size of inverted super deep boreholes, white coats smooth and super clean, holding up magnetic lines we dream along in fair sequence. They wake on platform 4 as their bullet train snake feigns death and stretches beside the others. From station it's a short wander adjoining a light matrix of young Starfield commons, up alleyways full of jumble markets with boxes, full of assorted future wares.com. The failure says, my lad, place your nose to thine florets. We'st seek Sai's workshop underlando. I wish to get data drunk on junk spam revelations incoming from a world that cannot stop talking. Please decimate our pattern-hungry senses and splinter all the things. We find her outside a bar, the melted crayon, slurping a neon cocktail that she deposits behind a hologram of an oak tree, fixing her grip on a transparent umbrella with a projector built in, so when you long gaze up beneath the brolly, you see a sky full of HD digital rain. Falling from where? Def not this sky, as it is a sunny afternoon. Sure no sun, but so too no sky. Upworld is a labyrinth ceiling of sly balconies, investing gravity withdrawals, Sio knows all too well. Plastic, pastelish raincoat, ready to deflect falling fish, gamma yays, emotions, palimpsests, backing up to heaven where she'll order their algorithms in good time through this demo cyan augmented reality sun visor Sai wears daily that produces a wireframe slow motion delay video replay scene, aka events in her vicinity, tiny cameras mounted within strands of hello chestnut hair. You thinking of sewing a chip between ears and eyes, scatter sensory input, side tips up box of PCBs and solder. But I think it will just benchmark some state of rave confusion and recursive semiotic fission. You want not junk, you want a hyper-ethical experience. She stretches northward. Dude, are you savvy to the notion of what major philosophy kids, she glances left and right, call, whisper, sideways music? The fighter and the failure equal no. Psy touches her heart and J.S. Bach starts playing, BWV 847 via MIDI clavier, blood pulsing metronome, guiding horizontal passage so each note can resound in turn. Consider with me, she tilts her smile 90 degrees, if each note did not follow the other in sequence, across time, but this order was turned sideways, so every note in the song played at the same time. What a mess, right? Well, how about Section 4, in which Psy takes the fighter and the failure to see 4 children who hack nature beside the port of Shenzhen. The children implant a printed circuit board beneath the skin of the failure. The board contains a dial that, when the failure extends his thumb 90 degrees, causes him to experience a sensation whereby all time is compressed into a single moment. For the failure, this means recognizing again that he has been on this journey from Raffles Bar to seaside surgery alone. A sunrise quartet of children flicker wet pliers and sandpaper across a tin bench covered in fish scales down by Eastwood Harbour, a 400-kilometre run between cargo ships, ghosts, bits of circuitry and surgical gauze betwixt their polydancing fingers. It is right here that Psy wants to demonstrate empirical proof of concept already in and of the nominal world, these kids hacking nature, not distorting, they says, these young ones without even looking at the F and the F. It is peeling back skin of the blonde songbird to reveal what is covered up by so much dust and lace as cloud strata, architecture of hope gas that renders dirt and bone invisible from space, fog of war. No, the fighter walks in low orbit for this reason. Pure critique of, well, so now the failure puts his hand on the bench of fish scales and jump wire, coughs backwards and says, bleed here now. The children sew a wafer-thin board neath the anatomical snuff box of the right hand of the failure, containing what, get this, they call 4-dimensional print lacing, with a 4, yes, ... terminal potentiometer that can rotate 90 degrees by extending a loom of thumb cartilage. Spake Psy, the reason this is the word is not because it will deliver the world unto a box of broken biscuits. As Olivia Newton-John stated, let us get ethical. Say you twist temporal information at quarter angle, sideways. It means, like our pile of bark notes, rather than one thing happening after another, consider a sin committed that you seek to later absolve, but there is no later or before. What then of morality if no timeline, no woe to go, because consequences and antecedents are one and the same? If it all happens at once, it means nothing. Stone, bronze, tin, Holocene, cyberpastoral, ergo a sideways morality. Be here now. The punchline, Psy says, is that if space-time is vertical, then ethics ain't tall enough to take the ride. Hello? She places pink fingernailed tips on Etka. Hey, into his O-cheeks, his nasojugal crease, says 000 Earth to Majorelai Etka. Hello in there. Then grabs his right hand and pushes his thumb all the way to its pole position. The fighter and the failure look at each other like the thin line of midday, morning and afternoon rendered now as one, so 4D becomes 2, becomes as 1, and as he moves his thumb side on, Etka sighs. So the fighter was the story of my youth, 'twas telling to the failure that ever have I been. Of course, I knew all of this 7 stanzas in. Now worry not, Etka quote-unquote laughs, the robots have not taken over yet. This old man, he loves failure. He has skin that feels scalier. Sure, I love the apoplectic fights of younger days, when my skin smooth as rocket behind. But neither children nor Psy could decode this solo vox. Out of the collapsed jumble of audio Etka bloomed, all at once, in static sonic tutti. Om.